Okay, next question. I'm looking for a ritual or devotional practice to help me connect with my spirituality. For years, I've been involved in the personal growth world, but up until now, this has been purely psychological experience. I feel as if I'm lacking something and want to explore this feeling. I'm not conventionally religious, but I do connect with the idea of source or God in everything. I'm looking for a sense of humility and surrender, but I don't know where to start. Well, I think you're already started because you're asking this question. It's, it's often when especially when we get into personal development, it's easy to kind of intellectualize everything and look at it as a psychological pursuit as opposed to like a full body, both psychological and emotional, and almost like a religious or faith-based pursuit. So oftentimes our faith and our connection to the source comes from the intuitive part of us. It doesn't come from the thinking part. And also it often comes from, or the sensory part, and it often comes from the feeling, not as opposed to the thinking. So oftentimes our spiritual or our religious experiences, they really come from more intuitive, more feeling parts, more trying to relax into the experience of the connection to source or to God, or the representation of source or God, than it does from thinking about God. And that's why, from a sensory perspective, it's good to have a practice that you do every day without fail. So that engages that sensory part of you. So it could be having your feet in water, for example. It could be, looking at your horse eating grass, or listening to the horse eating grass, or it could be walking in nature, or it could be prayers, or it could be chanting. It could be any number of things that really make it some practice that resonates with you on some level. So for example, if you naturally already love singing, you might check out chanting. So you might do something like, Guru Gita is probably a bit long. It can be an hour and a half, or if you do the half version, which is the 45 minutes, it's still a lot of the time on your day. But there are a lot of chanting exercises or videos on YouTube that you can check out, that you can connect to as a practice. Now, the point of the practice is that you discover other things about yourself as you're doing the practice. So you don't go into the practice already knowing what you're going to discover. You're going to go into the practice not knowing what you're going to discover, and have the joy of discovery. And that's how you begin to have the connection to source or to God. Now, what I would say, something personally that's been very helpful for me, and this was helpful for me in just relating to, so my history and my childhood and everything that I experienced in that time taught me to believe that there is no God, because if there was a God, I wouldn't be having these experiences. And I don't for a second subscribe to or this was how I used to be. I don't for a second subscribe to the notion of, God only gives you as much as you can carry. Sure, like that just seems psychotic to me, or seemed psychotic to me up until quite recently. And that's not a comment on your belief, or your belief in God, or your belief in religion, or that's not a comment on that at all. But something, because I always felt a higher presence, but I refused to call it the higher presence God, because I couldn't imagine a loving God putting anybody through that experience. And so the way I kind of started to connect into this higher being, source, is an easy word for me to use myself, was through the works of Abraham Hicks. So if you don't know Abraham Hicks, they are an entity of spirits or spiritual beings who are channeled through Esther Hicks, and you can find them on abraham-hicks.com. That was something that really worked for me to start softening that rejection of God piece. I don't know if you're quite there at rejecting. It doesn't sound like you are, but in case there's anybody tuning into this video and they're like, oh, I've been rejecting God for so long. How can I get on with that? That might be a way to kind of start for you, or well, that's at least worked for me. But it's more, for me, it's more about like God or the source or higher being is all about connecting into the goodness in the world. So regardless of what form it takes, whether you like to listen to Abraham, or whether you like to pray, or whether you like to chant, or whether you like to just have your feet in the water and enjoy the feeling against your skin, the main thing is that you make it something that you do, that it's a practice, that you do it to prioritize it, so that you keep opening that channel on a regular basis to God or to source or to a higher being, so that it is, because practice is, even the name practice suggests that you should be doing it. You should be practicing doing it. So find something, even if it's a couple of minutes, even if it's 10 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be this massive, big spiritual discovery journey now. In fact, it'll be more powerful if you do it little bits at a time and are able to integrate it as you go, as opposed to go off for 3 months to a mountaintop in Tibet. So pick something small and start from it. And that practice, that spiritual practice, will then begin or will continue your spiritual exploration. So was that helpful for you? Any other thoughts? What are your spiritual beliefs? I'd love to hear. Look forward to hearing from you.